Sometimes you get to a point where you reminisce. And, my grandmother, she didn't lay out the praise very often or very heavy. I'll give you an example of my cousin, and just automatic. I mean, just automatic. When she got in that zone, it was on, and you could see the transformation. My grandmother promised her she'd make her favorite chicken and dumplings. And I mean, when she had her head injury, it's the first thing she asked for. She was leaving the hospital. You think Mammaw can make me some chicken and dumplings? So this is a big time game. This is like the one that gets them to the championship. She's a senior, and she's up there on the foul line. Time is out, gone. One to tie, two to win. She steps up to the line and said, "Man, this has been a long game. I think I'm hungry." Swoosh! Knocked the bottom out of it. First free throw. Wasn't even thinking about free throws. Didn't think to count how many times she dribbled the ball. Everybody goes wild, right? She's kind of shaking off the foul she just took at the bell. By the way, she's the one that drove in for 2 points there to get them within 1 point. This team is tough. Like they have ex-pros, ex-University of Tennessee coaches coaching their women's basketball in high school. And we're talking the assistants to the great bird, Pat Head Summit. Man, whew. She could coach you to the moon, I'm telling you. She was something else. See her in action. I don't just mean the games. With my buddies, my previous video. I need to wrap this up. It's 10 o'clock. Somebody might be wanting to get to sleep. So my grandmother, she stood up. Now, her back has been terrible since I was about 5 years old. I mean, just wrecked. Broke her back, ruptured discs. She knows a lot about pain and a tough life, man. A tough life. She stands up. It's quiet. Blow the whistle. Hand her the ball. She's like, man, I wonder if she's been cooking it slow all day and it's sitting there already just waiting for me. Fafoosh! And the gym explodes. I mean, just screaming. Grown men screaming like little girls that got stung on their big toe by a hornet. I mean, just pandemonium kind of emotion. So we're standing around. I think Angie said she wanted to ride back with Mammaw. Mammaw just wanted to go home. I'm sure she was tired. And so I don't remember. I think she drove herself over to Mammaw's house, my house. Well, and I mean, she like got a shower. And, everybody's hooting and hollering. And, we're going to state, all that good stuff. Whatever. Or we're going to county tournament or whatever county tournament, I think. But anyway, it was one of those pure moments of triumph. Really, just I mean, if you can't smile at that, especially since like a year and a half before that, they didn't know if her brain would ever be Like she had a head injury. They didn't know how normal back to, you know, good cognitive function. Like they didn't know how far back she would be. I mean, it was scary to see the pain in my family's eyes. I'd already seen her feet of clay, but my grandmother, man, she'd been through some tough times. Born in the Depression. She never had enough to eat till she was 15, buying her own groceries. 16, she took flight from a. I mean, I just can't believe it. I just thought Medford was a family name that she didn't like, but no, she'd been married off at 14, forced marriage, slavery marriage, 14 years old up in the mountains, an unofficial, like, her parents got money out of it, good trade goods, a hog for the winter, all sort. I mean, that kind of horse trading for your oldest daughter. Man, how tough. So she only went through like fifth grade. By the time she was 10, she was barely going to school. And like she went to the fifth grade. I don't think you would say that she completed it. Like she says she has a third grade education, which I'm not going to argue with. I mean, tough time. I mean, we were talking about, give you an idea, she was 12 in 1938. By the time she was 16, she was working at Oak Ridge, where they're building the nuclear plants to do the gaseous diffusion to distill the uranium for one of the world's first atomic bombs. And she's working in the cafeteria. She ran away from home, got on a bus. She had a stillborn child that had to be buried. I mean, just unbelievable hardship before the age of 16. Married off into slavery to a drunken, no doubt abusive older man. I mean, oh my God. Oh. She did not praise everything she saw, especially looked a little too fancy. And I guess after Angie gulped down a bowl of chicken and dumplings, well, it was her last meal or her first good meal, I don't know which, but she looked at Mammaw and said something like, well, I guess I won that game. And Mammaw said, that's what I saw. That's it. She didn't say, made some real good shots there at the end. Well, she didn't do anything to blow up her ego. Nothing. I don't know. Was she trying to toughen her up for the journey ahead? Don't make the mistakes I made. Thinking I got it whipped now. I don't know. I don't know. Because she never had that feeling when I got it whipped. Tough life. She buried 3 children. I don't even know the name of the first one. I don't know. I don't know if it's male or female. This woman lived to be 90 years old. She had some serious faults. I mean, she had major depressive disorder, no doubt. I had no idea what any of this was as a child. Depression is the world I grew up in. My father passed away a week before my 6th birthday. I'm not trying to lay baggage on you. I'm just telling you that that's the world I knew. And well, my aunt said, it's amazing you've turned out to be such a truly kind person, and you're obviously trying to be a good man. You have I guess I'm starting to become known for my eulogies. Um, Probably one I'd like to take back, but it was for real. I mean, I wasn't putting anything on. So Mammaw had, she didn't want you getting the big head, but she wanted to get to a point where, like, in private, in your own constitution, a little bit of stubbornness comes out and says, you know, I did that thing right there. And no one can take that away. And people saw it. Yeah. She's born with another name in addition to the one I knew her to have. She went to start being called Azalee M. Ridner. She was born Dolly A. Ridner. I mean, mind blowing. Through my aunt's doing the research off track, I guess. So we've got to build bridges and not just blaze trails. We need, for everything we knock down, we need to build a bridge. Achieving your goals is great, but man, you gotta launch the pass for the assist every now and then, and more often. So much the more as I see the day approaching. There's going to come a time when you can't help people anymore. And you want their good wishes and their direct help. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying my grandmother was a philosopher. I think it's just that so many things have gone wrong in her life that she can only tell you what's good, for sure, that didn't lead or contribute to or feel associated with those dark, ditch, awful times down in the side of the road, just slugging away in a freezing cold, pregnant woman working way too hard, and young. I don't know how young. Dear God. Not 16 yet. I don't know, maybe just turned 16. I don't know enough of the story to tell you, because it was obviously something she only told my aunt after they dug into her past, because they knew something. Like, I knew, hints and bits. Man, I'm just really trying now, slightly appreciating the life that she lived. Oh my God. I mean, it really should be a movie. I I mean, the Tennessee Mountain Home, surrounded by drunks and men that don't work, and the ones that do want to work, there's hardly any work to be had. It's the Great Depression. This is all she's known. And the 20s didn't roar in her hometown that she was born into. I mean, there was nothing. Little bitty country store. The first time she heard an automobile come roaring down the dirt and gravel road, she hid in a ditch. That's how far out in the middle of nowhere she was. And we're not talking she was 5 years old, like she was 10. I mean, 1935, she found out what an automobile was and was scared of this contraption, this loud, obnoxious thing roaring down the road at ungodly speeds, throwing gravel and dust in the air. This might as well be a fire-breathing dragon for this country girl, because she don't know nothing about an internal combustion engine at all. And this was not a time when jets flew overhead. There were no airplanes flying. There were no hot air balloons flying around. I mean, there was no air traffic except for very specific areas at this time. If you wanted to fly to Knoxville, you better know somebody that has an airplane. I mean, it wasn't happening. There were no hubs for airlines. There were barely anything in existence that could call themselves an airline. Man, what a world she must have experienced. 1926, 2017. 2016, rather. She passed November 2nd. Actually, right here. Oh, man. You know, a lot of old people, if you get around them much, they'll say, let me tell you about my grandchildren. I don't have any kids, at least not yet. November 4th. Whew. 2016. She was born May the 9th. 1926. She was 90 years. Almost 6 months. Another 5 days and she would have been 90 and a half. 90, might as well say it. I mean, Lord knows that she had a little help in later in life. That's just because she found a good man and had good children. None of us are perfect, but a lot of us try to do the right thing for the ones we love, and sometimes we screw up and we hurt other ones that we love while we're trying to help this one or that one. This family has some stubborn genes. No doubt some of them were expressed and we got training. My grandmother did not say a lot. She did not talk a lot. She'd talk with my granddad some. That was neat to see that. They raised me. After my dad died, my mom showed up briefly again to try and claim me. I think I spent some time in Kentucky with her, and I'm pretty sure dope smoking friends. Not really sure because, I was young. So she was like 47 when I was born, something like that. So she's 53, we'll say. And they're taking on one of their grandkids, the son of their oldest son. And somewhere out there, there's a half sister uh, that they didn't really tell me about for years. But I knew about her. I knew her name. I remember her playing with toys, and she like smacked my finger with something, and it hurt. And then she tried to take the boat that I had behind this little pickup truck. I had a boat, and I mean that's not like there was nothing there at my mom's place, wherever that was. Like I say, I think somewhere in Kentucky, Corbin maybe. I have no idea. She's 25 years old, my mom at that point. Got this 6-year-old obvious genius son. I'm sure I scared the crap out of her. But that's not on me. So my mom and dad were divorced since I was about 2, and she had a baby girl sometime about the time I was 3. Let me tell you about my grandmother. Azalee Neely. Actually, I believe her full. She was born Dolly Azalee Ridner. She married a man named Medford. She got married to, got given away to a man named Medford. Ran away from him. Then she went to Georgia from Tennessee, ostensibly because Georgia did not require a blood test. But the truth is, she had a secret marriage up in the mountains that she didn't know if it was ever legal or if it had been annulled or could be annulled, or who knows. Maybe there's some Cherokee tribal law up there that who knows. So rather than find out, I believe, they decided we're going to Georgia and get hitched at the Justice of the Peace. And yeah. Some grand stories I got from my grandparents. Some of them were about the pain of living, but a lot of them were about how to win at life. My grandmother was eager to point out the potholes that you might want to avoid because they exist. Just trying to think how long my grandmother was a member at Temple Baptist Church. Every week when they figured out she was in the care home, they sent someone out every week to sing to her and talk with her a few minutes. Volunteers from the church. Young people. So we went over there. I was 12, looked like the fall when I was 12, we'll say, 1983, 2016. 93, 2003, 2013. So that's 30 years, 36 years. She was a member of that church. I'm not saying she had any great contributions, but I believe she did. One of them was a pastor who's now pretty much turned it into a mega church with a first-rate college. I mean, it's not, it's not the size of Cal U that I go to here, but it's impressive. And her husband, my grandfather, Nolan Neely, he was a big part of, I believe, of taking that man Sexton grant. They should call him Grover. That's his middle name. I was such a bad child. Clarence Grover Sexton. Good guy. I mean, he's. I believe he's in it for all the right reason. He stumbles just like anyone else, but you know, he's on a good goal. I mean, he's here to help people. Uh, I've not been close enough to him to know uh, how he expresses his truest feelings of spirituality. In his own relaxed time. Um, I'm not saying he should be worshipped or anything. Nothing of the sort. Sorry, there's a fly over here. Like, flies in February in Pennsylvania? Well, I'm growing some salad greens and sweet potatoes in a hybrid hydroponic system using dirt and water, nutrient solution. Uh, it's not real complicated, but some of the bigger stuff you let it root in the nutrient solution. In the system I have these cups with holes in them, and they're held up by 1 inch and 2 inch thick foam rafts. And so you can sprout seeds like peach seeds for peach tree, avocado seed, sweet potatoes. You can put you can do a full potato plant, or you can also do onions and all the garlic, chives, everything in the onion family. You can do them the whole time with the nutrient solution. I believe they have a slightly better flavor when they finish off in soil. So I'll transplant them into soil after they've developed a nice root system, nice and clean, uh, what you could call a more controlled environment in the water. Why am I saying all this? Well, in addition to everything I'm talking about my grandmother, part of what I reminisce about is the things that they taught me about what to look for in your living and how you live your life. My granddad is a real inspiration to a lot of people. He's nothing special. Just a good man. Just a really good, decent man that worked at being good and decent. And he never worried about the judgment of people, because that's not the goal he was working for. His goal was a much higher authority, and he wasn't even doing it for the good judgment of that highest authority. He was doing it to make the world a better place, because he could play an instrument. He couldn't, he's real good at playing the radio. One time there, oh man, I'd go down 1,000 great rabbit trails. So one evening after church, we had a guitar, which some people kind of at our youth service over at Bible Way Baptist. Is before Temple. I was like 12, and there's like some guitar playing going on in the basement and stuff, and there's some worry there with some of these, really, because they were like, oh, what are the kids up to down there? I don't know that song. That doesn't sound like Rock of Ages hymn to me. So they were very conservative, independent Baptist, not Southern Baptist. There's a whole different blush to it. Sword of the Lord. Yeah. So I actually led a couple at 12. I led a couple of the youth ministry. I mean, this is like everybody like that's old enough to be truly literate and understand what they're reading. And I was young to be in that group. Like before, most everybody was 15, 16 before they were in there. But I was their intellectual equal, the 18-year-olds. 12. I mean, I know that sounds awful like bragging, but I mean, I knew how to do research papers, and so when there was a day there, we started taking turns doing lessons, and they asked me if I would like to have a turn. Didn't even know if that's something I'd be interested in. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Give me a couple of weeks to prepare. And they just like, they had a study guide that the former youth minister had given out. We didn't even really have a youth pastor or anything like that. A youth director, even. I mean, kinda, sorta. Old Pat, a retired cop with a bad heart. Man, I don't know. I don't know what that time was, but it was neat at times. Awkward, of course, when you're 12, 11. I was a tween or something like that. That term got invented long after I was of that age. Tween. What does that mean? When I was 12, I gave a whole large pizza, like 3-topping pizza. A lot of high points. That was a year after winning the city county champs in middle school football. Then I started going to Temple Baptist High School to school. I think one of my cousins was there one year when I went. I think Angie was. So my family's been on my mind a lot here lately. I know some people say, "Oh, this has been a while coming," but I'm the kind of guy. It takes me a couple of years to process someone's life, I guess, and to truly celebrate their life. I don't know that I can really do it. I mean, I can speak on it, but it's more like an academic duty and a personal honor, and but it's a commitment. I mean, it's something that I've committed to that I don't. I'm not saying anything bad about. I have some very smart, intelligent relatives, but I do have, and I mean, I have some like third cousins or whatever we are, my great aunt's children. It's a pastor, and he's a magnificent speaker, but we didn't even think to ask him. I just dawned on me. I hope he wasn't. I'm surely he wasn't offended. I mean, I may have offended him. I assure you, I didn't mean to. Uh, it's a tough thing. It's and him and his mom, and he brought his daughter. That's so neat. This journey we're on. You don't try to hide any of it from the children. I mean, be honest about the journey, where we are, and what we're doing, because they can detect BS at a mile. I mean, children are like, I mean, the smart ones, the ones that are in tune with their family, and they're paying attention to the lessons being taught. They have those detectors out because they know in order for them to get where they are already, even as a child, they have to have understood that we're doing things a little different, and we have a special, a great family. That sort of thing is, and that is, I mean, that is a source of personal strength. You know, that inner discipline is built that way. And I knew that there's no one there that could speak better. It sounds so arrogant. Oh, but that's a tough thing to do, and it takes a certain mindset, and some people just can't open up and be real about it and still maintain any sort of composure. Just be blubbery messes where it's hard to understand what they're saying. Hard to tell if that was were they just breathing, did they hiccup, or they're crying so hard. It's for real. That's great. But my grandmother, she'd keep you on point now. Pay attention. There'll be a test later. Yeah, you better be good. Don't you be up there messing around. Do your research. You know, have something wrote up. Get after it. If you're gonna do it, nail it. She's like, if that little Willie wants to, that willpower. Oh, she's such a character. She had such a tough, depressive life. Oh my Lord. Oh. A lot of people do. It's not like she was unique. There are a million stories like this. I think hers is one needs to be told, though. It's not coal miner's daughter. She's a world famous person or anything now, but she grew up in exactly that kind of poverty where, whew, wow. Just predators of every kind, and Mother Nature and everything just like hanging on you, looking to snatch bits and pieces of your joy and your life and your love away. She grew up in a tough time, man. Phew, you know, I mean, vaccines weren't, like there's still a lot of hurt kids growing up that died of measles. She knew, like, her brother was crippled up completely by polio, could not stand, and they couldn't afford to take him to a doctor. He just laid on the couch for who knows how long, and they were doing good to have a couch. Does that, you know, she would get up to, it's time to go to school, and he got his clothes on, and he's trying to stagger. He couldn't walk, and he'd get a little ways away from the house, and he just couldn't stand up anymore. And there's nothing you can do about it. They didn't have handicap access. They live on Big Four Mountain. The trails are like this. Oh, it's called Big Four Mountain. On the edge of the Smokies in La Follette, Stinking Creek, USA. They have their own interstate exit now. Oh Lord. Oh, I would so love to have that homestead. Oh my Lord. By rights, who knows who should have it? They're living in the house she paid for, working down at the sewing factory. She bought that house that her parents lived in, like, till they died. I don't know what all happened. It just, wow. Like, she's 14, killing herself, working these insane shifts, making shirts in the sewing factory. They didn't have safety. OSHA did not exist. Not at all. 1940. See here, 26. Yeah, 1940. She's 14, 1940. I don't know what I was saying before. 12 and 25, 37. Yeah, my granddad was born in 1925. He was 16 when they bombed Pearl Harbor. He couldn't serve. He wanted to. so bad. He wanted to serve in so many different ways too. He wanted to be on a jury. He wanted to help participate in the jurisprudence process. Um, he would have been a great juror for any kind of jury. Never did. His Mammaw got called in. He didn't. And I mean, he was a fair-minded, wise man, very wise. Man, he had some argument talent too, man. I mean, I really think maybe in a different world he could have been an amazing lawyer. He had a very tuned mind, if that makes any sense. He can get at the crux of an issue and make you make a good decision based on his experience. I'm not saying he had that his whole life, but I'm just saying that he developed that with, minimal education. He did graduate high school. He was on the basketball team in high school. Do you believe that? There's pictures of him in his ugly looking shorts. He's got bug eyes. What a great man. He does, yeah, these big bulging eyes. He's all skin and muscle. I mean, he's just, he had a shotgun that fed his family. I mean, he was poor. He said they always had plenty to eat, but I mean, they worked hard to get decent, and I know he didn't always have plenty to eat. I think he was just gilding the lily a little bit there because, he made it just fine. He never, what I think he was saying is he was never starving like you see in third world countries with, children, skin and bones with distended bellies from malnutrition, hunger, rickets. He's like, just because he wasn't that bad, and he might have had rickets. I mean, he might have should have been 6'3", I wouldn't doubt that his growth was stunted because he had such strong I don't know, whatever. He had a presence like a much bigger man. He could have been a preacher. I mean, certainly a Sunday school teacher of preeminence. I mean, just like running a school, maybe even the philosophical part. Who knows? I mean, with a decent education, access to, man. Oh, would he love having access to the internet now? Oh my Lord. What he could find out. He had such a hunger for knowing what a thing truly was, to roll it around in your hands, to examine it like a numismatist has a coin that they are looking minutely for bag marks and scratches. But to know a subject so well as to be able to be the officiating judge of an item, like that's what he wanted to be. And he saw the beauty of my grandmother. I guess that's probably the best I can do for now. I will continue on the third line here before long. About dignity, I suppose. And she was hard to live with at times. I mean, depression was just, it permeated the household a lot of times. But I had a good childhood. I really did. They made sure they knew that I knew that I was loved. Even when she smacked me upside my head with a cast iron skillet. I done that because you love you. I had said something bad about breakfast. Both of my egg yolks, like I had 2 eggs over medium or something, I didn't even know what over medium was. I'm like, fry it up like you do. Right? I was about 12. And I said, man, you always have such perfect eggs, but these both of them are broke. The egg yolk's broke. She's like, well, you got to break them to eat them anyway. Don't worry about it. I said, man, I love it when they have that little dip in the middle that holds the grease. They're just soft enough to where they got a little pocket of grease hanging out in the middle on the outside surface of the egg yolk. You know, that's kind of, just my favorite thing. You take a piece of bread, a biscuit, particularly is the best. Biscuit. It's like a Saturday morning. I said something that I'll never forget. My granddad laughed like it was a spasm of laughter. Like he probably shouldn't have done that kind of laugh. He just couldn't help himself. He could not believe those words came out of my mouth. I said, I really love them this way, and you should maybe try a little harder. You know you can be replaced, right? Wow. He made a sound about like that. Like, I can't believe you just said that to your grandmother. She might scalp you. Well, looks like it's happened now, Mammaw. I'm thinking about cutting it into a friar's ring. She did. She hit me side of the head with a cast iron skillet. I'm just really glad it was a cold one. It really sucked if that thing was about 400 degrees. I'm not sure whether she realized it was cold when she bopped me with it. I mean, she didn't hit me hard. She went, boom. I mean, it went, boom. She hit me dead center with it. Boom. Gotta know better than that. Something like that. Which sent my grandpa, oh, good old Pappaw. I mean, he rolled in laughter of it. He did that like a horse, old man, donkey, mule laughter. Like that kind of laugh. You cannot fake that kind of laugh. I mean, it was complete. He's like, oh, your trouble is just starting. That woman has a memory. And it just got funnier to him. Like, he barely finished his breakfast. He finished it cold because he's right in the middle of his breakfast. He's just got a laughing fit. Oh, and by the way, Pappaw got his eggs first. That's how much of a badass he was. I mean, she looked after him now. Oh, and he did everything she wanted. That's what she said after he passed away a few years later. He did everything I ever asked him to do. And he did it the best he could. We never had too much, but we had a lot. We had each other, I guess. And we had, he's going to trail off. Because there's no doubt she'd remember the roughest, most awful days ever. Burying loved ones is tough, man. Burying your children, 2 of them, almost burying a couple more, car wrecks, maybe all of us. I mean, down to me anyway. I mean, when I was 16, I had a 100-mile-an-hour crash. I had a concussion. I still have misplaced bones in my head here. Messes with my sinuses. I could have very easily been dead at 16. And there's many of us that could have. And a couple that, one that Almost died at 16. His younger brother did die at 14. My Uncle David, that I never knew. And in addition to my dad, her son dying in 1977. March 7th, 1977, by the way. His birthday's March 8th. And then a couple of years later, her nephew, her sister's son, Randy Gregory, got run over by a car while he was riding on his bike. He was not. I think he was 14. Maybe he was 15. I just don't remember. Um, the things that woman can teach you can be huge. However, there is a dark side. You know, there's depression that they didn't treat it like we treat it now. You know, they will push you into talking to people, and because we can help a lot more now than we could 50 years ago. A lot more. Well, my neighbors might be starting to get disturbed here. It's after 10 o'clock. It's 11:05. It's after 11 o'clock. All right, well, I'll sign off and stop the reminiscing somewheres in there. Hey, one of my buddies texted me back, so that's great. Y'all be good to one another. Remember, we're in this together. We need to help one another. And there's no shame in failure. But quitting is a choice. Don't quit on yourself. Peace be unto you.